going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. Hopefully, you guys are having the best Wednesday of the Wednesdays, I guess. I took a winning trade today. It was for 80 points on NQ futures. I did stay on the charts for a little longer than I should have or I would have liked. I usually trade the macro time frames, right? And I stayed and I traded the lunch macro, which I usually don't do. However, I saw my setup. I trade the same setup every single time, the same circumstances, right? Saw my setup and I took it. And the big thing here, again, like I've been really focused on improving, is managing my risk and knowing truly knowing how many contract sizes I should use, truly knowing how much points I should put my stop loss at, and adjusting that based off of like the best where adjusting my stop loss to where my trade would truly be invalidated. So that's something I feel like I've been missing the most these past few weeks, months. I've been trading, and something that's been holding me back is just managing my risk and then discipline. And I feel like I've been working on that a lot for the past 1 or 2 weeks. It's been truly helping me. And so wins like these are just slowly chipping away. It wasn't a huge win. It was for 302 micros, 80 points. But again, it's not measured on how fast you get there. If you get there, you get there. It doesn't matter. You're not getting an extra prize for getting there faster or something like that, right? So, like I said, we took it today, 2025 4-23 for 323. Entry was at 18,874. And so, yeah, let me recap it real quick. But coming in for the daily buys, I was leaning bullish because of the fact that bullish order flow was just way too strong. And we started off the day with a new day opening gap. And what I've learned is it's when buy power or sell power, whatever it may be, is this strong, it's kind of hard to predict when it will reverse. And I feel like my model is based off reversals, and by me just feeling like a reversal is happening, I've gotten stomped out numerous times. So I've learned that I've decided to take a deeper look into continuation models, things like that, and learn to trade with the trend, and not always you don't always have to catch like the huge bottom tick Powell sort of reversal trades. I mean, we all love those, right? Like they're like the best things in the world, but I mean, trading with the trend is just as important. But and because of that, I was still leaning bullish. But the final tell for me here was this 15-minute fair value gap, right? So this was right before market open. I usually, whenever like I'm kind of iffy about whether price will continue to trend or reverse, I like to see if we have like a higher time frame imbalance right before market opens, and for price to tell me what it wants to do based off that imbalance. So right before, in London session, right before market open, right before 9:30, we have a 15-minute fair value gap, right? And so what I'm looking for here is if price were to disrespect this fully and displace down here and give us a change in the state, give us a market structure, we would have a 50-minute bearish unicorn model, right? And so I would switch my bias to bearish, but that's not what we did, right? We respected this 15-minute fair value gap, and because of that, I stuck with my bullish bias. Now, it was a little bit weird, obviously, because we ended up inverse with this 15-minute fair value gap. However, we disrespect that inverse. Now, honestly, that was a stronger tell for me to stay bullish because of the fact that sellers were aggressively selling, right? They were aggressively selling, but buyers were even more aggressive, and they just bought at a fairer price, right? A fairer value, and they were able to disrespect that inverse fair value gap. So that was a stronger tell for me that we were going to remain bullish, and that's exactly what happened, right? So on the 1 minute, I mean, if we zoom in on the 1 minute, as soon as market opens, one more liquidity grab, and we start to push higher. I never found an entry, a cleaner entry here. Now, if you trade the unicorn model, there was a unicorn here, but I never really got an entry within the macro, and my rule is to stay and to trade within the macro, and we never got that. But I mean, I'm not too mad at that. We didn't take that because honestly, the first 1, 2, and even third macro, honestly, we were consolidating a bunch. That's why I didn't find an entry. So that's why I waited for the lunch macro here, because this was all like just accumulation. We weren't doing anything. But I mean, accumulation isn't boring, right? If you know why price is accumulating, you can kind of predict when, or kind of tell where price wants to go next. If it gives us that move after accumulation, you can kind of tell, and it's if you come to understand accumulation, it's not as boring as people think. So yeah, we're accumulating here. And then what else do we get? I mean, I don't really trade AMD, but we get a pretty textbook AMD here. So we have accumulation here, manipulation here, right? We manipulate these highs here, and then we start distributing down lower. And like I said, when we're pushing up that high, when we're trending, when we're in a bullish trend, it's kind of hard to tell when we're going to reverse, right? And a lot of people get stomped out because they think we're going to reverse, but we're really not, because bullish trend may be too strong. But if we get signals like a clear accumulation, manipulation, and then a break in structure, and then a distribution lower, if you just wait for the market to tell you what it wants to do, it gets a lot easier instead of trying to predict. So we get this huge move down. I don't catch it. There was an entry for me, but I just didn't have all my confluences. And oh no, it didn't fill my order. I think it was. Let me see. Yeah, it was here. So it was off this 1 minute fair value gap. I wanted a retrace. So we have a unicorn model here. I wanted a retrace back in this 1 minute fair value gap. We never got that. So price just left without me, which is fine, right? So price is just leaving without me at this point, and I'm like, okay, this is probably no trade day. But we enter this 4-hour fair value gap, right? A 4-hour fair value gap is a pretty strong imbalance. And in addition to entering this 4-hour fair value gap here, we create a 4-hour SMT. So that's perfect. We have a high time frame SMT. And now I'm maybe there's a possibility of us continuing this bullish trend because we're in a bullish trend overall. So maybe we have a possibility of taking out these, like I marked out this draw like 2 weeks ago. Maybe we have a possibility of taking out those draws. And we also, guess what, have a textbook market maker buy model. We have a 50-minute PD array, a 50-minute high, 50-minute low. We zoom into the 1 minute, and we have a accumulation, and then we have redistribution, first phase of redistribution, second phase of redistribution, and then we have our smart money reversal, which is here, right? We have a smart money reversal, and now all we're doing, so we have our SMT. Like I said, I go over 4 things in my trades. 4 things I need before I go into my trade. An SMT, higher time frame or lower time frame. We have a higher time frame in this case, an SMT. We have a market maker model. We have a clear market maker buy model. And then the third thing is now I need an entry. My entry, I use the unicorn model. I'm going to look for a unicorn model. And the fourth thing, it has to be in a macro, which is already checked off. So the last thing we need is I'm looking for a unicorn model, right? And that's exactly what we get. We actually get a unicorn model on 2 time frames. So we get it here. Like I said, you can literally see it so clear now, right? So like I said, this is our smart money reversal, right? Because we're in a 4-hour higher time frame imbalance. We have a market maker buy model. So it's clear that we have a possibility of us to kind of buy back up, right? And we have a 5-minute unicorn model here, which is kind of telling us that we're going to start a reversal. So we have a high, a low, a low, a high, lower low, a higher high, right? So we marked out the candle between our lower low and higher high. So that becomes our 5-minute breaker block, right? For our unicorn model. And then do we get a 5-minute fair value gap? No, we don't get a 5-minute fair value gap. However, we have context, right? Now we have context that we have a 5-minute unicorn model, which is pretty powerful. Best case scenario now is for me to look for a 1 minute. And that's exactly what we get, right? We get a 1 minute. I already marked it out. So we have a low, high, lower low, higher high. Again, changing the state here. Changing the states. So now we have 2 things. We have a 5-minute unicorn model with the breaker block here. We have a 1 minute unicorn model with a fair value gap here and its breaker block in this area. And so prices like right here at this point, and all I'm doing is I'm waiting for a retrace. Now this huge wick right here, this huge wick, right? It was important for me not to like shit myself after that wick showed itself, right? Because all it's doing is taking out buyers that were chasing price when price began to expand, right? That's all it's doing. This is an obvious manipulation wick. This is not normal. It's not like, don't think this is how price like normally moves. If you saw this candle live, it was literally a massive wick down and just starts rejecting, right? So what did it do? It took out buyers. Here it took out buyers. Here it took out buyers. Here it took out buyers everywhere. People that were trying to chase price who weren't patient enough to wait for price to retrace. That's how people lost their money, right? So knowing that's how the market makers want to move the market, that's a perfect entry for me, right? So after price kind of wicks and I see it start to reject, that's when I enter, right? So I enter up. It also respects this 1 minute fair value gap. It closes above this 1 minute fair value gap, which is a good sign. It wicks out all the buyers. It respects this 5-minute breaker block. It respects this 1 minute breaker block. It respects this 1 minute fair value gap. It respects the change in the state area. And we're respecting our market maker buy model, it looks like, right? So that's exactly when I enter. And price takes a little bit wide because we have this high resistance liquidity to kind of push up. It's edging me a little bit. I don't take any partials because it's an 80-point move. Usually my moves are a little bit bigger. Because of that, I don't take partials. Right when we break, I'm pretty sure this high, I trail my stop loss. When we break this high, I put my stop loss to break even. And then I just let the trade play out. And it played out, right? So, yeah, that was like basically the trade I took today. So, quick summary. What do I always need? I always go over what do we always need? An SMT, right? Market maker model. It has to be in a macro. And then for our entry, a unicorn. But the thing that I've learned to come and to adapt to is when we're in a strong trend, either to the downside or to the upside, a market maker model isn't always needed if the trend is clear and if you have a clear indication that the trend will continue, right? But that's exactly why today I didn't trade with the trend, right? I didn't trade with it. I waited for a market maker model to form, right? That comes with patience. So pretty proud of the way I traded today, honestly. And it's just another testimony to if I stay patient, I manage my risk correctly, and I wait for my model and my setup to truly to like present itself, right? Because maybe it won't present itself every single day, but today, like, it presented itself in the fourth macro. It didn't in the first, second, third, but it did in the fourth macro. So I was just able to stay patient and take the trade here, and it was a pretty. I mean, it wasn't too easy to see, I don't think, because I don't know. I had to look a little bit, but it was still a pretty B plus A minus setup. I'd say A minus setup, yeah, A minus setup. But yeah, I mean, there's not much else. I feel like I think I've covered everything so far in the video, but yeah, just another day, another trade of my model, and staying consistent, staying patient, and sticking to my rules. I believe, like, why can't I get funded, right? So I thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video, and I'll see you guys next time I take a trade. Peace.